Thank you all for showing us the love and support this past month. Dad cared and appreciated all of his friends and loved ones. Your caring words have comforted all of us. Jim Bryan Lange was born on October 14th, 1946 to George Kaler Lange and Dorothy Roth Lange in Sacramento, California. James was the youngest of his siblings. Dad's sister Joyce, her husband Don Green, and brother John Lange and his wife Mary Lou. Their families spent quality time with their brother and uncles. They will truly miss the family banter. We had the pleasure of sitting around Aunt Joyce's table last night with that family banter. Dad was the loving, supportive father of myself and Michelle Camper Lange, Troy and Denise Lange, Todd and Tierra, and Dad's youngest daughter, Heather Lange. Dad is preceded in death by Heather, and it weighed heavily on his heart. Dad loved and was proud of his only grandson, Todd's son, Kaler. And Dad always told us we could be anything we wanted to be, and he would love us no matter what. Dad encouraged us to do better and to support and love all people. Dad grew up in Oak Park, California, and graduated from Sacramento High School. All who knew Dad loved his stories about his childhood. How one man could remember all of his teachers' names, his friends' names, his neighbors' names. It was amazing. Dad's stories were entertaining. His friends and family could listen to them over and over with laughter. Dad was always available to lend a helping hand. He often drove friends to doctor's appointments, to the airport, even to the track for horse racing events. Dad was always excited when he was up a couple of bucks. Dad still spent time with his many childhood friends: Frank Cook, Bruce Wilson, Sam Sesso, Connie, Mark O'Brien, Joe Plusha, Dave McLean, Corny, and Jimmy Gimme a Dime Walker. I truly am blessed with all the stories that Dad told us about his childhood. I'm sure there's a few other people that are sitting in this room that I'm forgetting, and I apologize. Please know that he loved and enjoyed your friendship immensely. In 1978, Dad moved back to Emery, Wisconsin to start a family with his then wife, Marie. All of us kids, Dad's children, eventually moved back to Wisconsin and graduated from Amory High School. Dad loved the Midwest and again met and touched the hearts of many people in the small town. Dad was a member of the volunteer fire department and volunteer ambulance company. He would often tell stories, funny or interesting calls that he'd had. Dad helped me join the volunteer fire department and ambulance company when I was still in high school. And I know how proud Dad was of me and Michelle in our firefighting careers. Dad always bragged to everyone how talented Todd was at fixing or building. Anything he could get his hands on. Dad loved Troy's wit, my youngest brother Troy's wit, his smarts, and his political debates. Dad was very proud of Heather's service to our country and loved how she traveled to exotic places. Dad moved back west around 1995. You guys may not know this, but Dad really liked the ladies. He married a few more times over the years, and I will always be grateful for my brother Ben, his wife Kim, and their son Logan. Dad loved you, Ben, and enjoyed being your stepfather. Dad liked being back in Sacramento. He enjoyed spending times with his friends, old and new. You all know who you are. He would often spend time with his family, and everyone I have talked to since Dad's passing talked of Dad's kindness, his smile, and his stories. They all told me, "Oh, he's such a great guy," or "I really liked your dad." Dad had an incredible green thumb, spending time in his yard with his plants and flowers. Dad loved animals. He recently, or a couple years now, adopted a couple of older poodles from an online rescue. Dad spent some time trapping stray cats in the neighborhood, getting them fixed and re-released. He may or may not have fed his favorites. Dad had just returned from a road trip where he went and visited Wisconsin, my brothers, with Dad's girlfriend, Linda. Dad was able to visit his sons and many close friends. Dad told me it was the best. Dad told me it was the best vacation he had ever had. He had so much fun on the trip to and back from Wisconsin, and while he was there, Dad, may you find peace. Give Heather a kiss for me. I love you.
I was just gazing the room for Linda. She has some word. Oh, Linda, please come share.
I'm going to read as well. We are all in disbelief as to why. Some things in life are beyond our control. Jim was a strong man, both in character and conviction. He was a friend beyond measure, witty and intelligent. Jim had a way to make us laugh, telling us his stories. A great giver of logic and wisdom. Someone who would do anything for you within his power to help you. He was a good friend to all that are here today. Some of you I know, and some I do not know. But thank you for being here. Some of us were lucky enough to have him in our daily lives, knowing his struggles with injury, loss, and personal pain. On the surface, he rose above it all, but no one can feel another's pain, even if you were told about it. At times, you could see it, but couldn't grasp what it really felt like. Nor can one fully understand a person's emotional turmoil or struggles. Jim was a wonderful, caring father who raised his children with moral wisdom and love. He was the most thoughtful, sensitive, honest, kind man I'd ever met. And I'm better for knowing him and his love. Yes, Jim was a strong man, but I believe he was humbled by everything that had passed before him on his 72 years on earth. We talked about many things, he and I miss him more than you'll ever know. But what he meant to us individually is uniquely your own. In closing, all I can say is this: it was bigger than any of us. Please don't be angry and don't dwell as to why. We may or may not ever know. I believe it was the hardest thing he had to do. Thank you.
I don't need all that. Today, we are here to say goodbye to Jim Lange, a man that touched my heart, and I'm sure he touched the heart of every person in this room. Can we start with just a moment to honor his memory, to honor Jim? Just take a moment to bring him in. Those of us that loved Jim, and we ached with his passing, knew him as a great father, a friend, a brother, a grandfather, and most of all, a champion for those that had none. Jim celebrated life. He celebrated every day the best he knew how in that moment. With such a sudden, unexpected exit, we are all simply left wanting closure, wanting wanting to put the pieces of the puzzle together. Since science, philosophy, religion, none of them have ever given us a true explanation for what happens after death. We are all just left to fill in the blanks and create a story that we can live with. No one knows what's next, nor did Jim. In Christianity, it is taught that if you live for God and you enter into every day serving Christ, that after death you'll be reunited with the Father. Your soul will travel to heaven, and you'll be with the people that left before you, and you'll be in this serene vision of white robes and thrones floating on clouds lined in gold for eternity, with no pain, no suffering, no worries. In Buddhism, it is believed that there are 10 possible outcomes after death. 4 are for sages, those who have obtained enlightenment on this earth. Maybe Jim, maybe not. 4 are for other people who have committed evils, and not Jim. 2 are for people who have lived virtuous lives. These people either go to heaven or remain on earth in a new life. It is believed that the people with excellent conduct, extraordinary character, and good merit will journey to heaven. Those that did a pretty darn good job will have the experience of rebirth. That brings me to the ancient wisdom of the Indian Veda literature and the Bhagavad Gita, where it is written, life is eternal soul. I really like that statement, life is eternal soul. And you can flip it around too, and soul is eternal life. The embryo does not develop in the womb without the energy, the soul energy, and nor does the body exist on earth without the soul energy. The American Indians' concept of death is that death is not the end, but simply a transformation. According to the European missionaries, there were over 500 said Indian religions when white man set foot on this continent. The common theme amongst them all was reincarnation. Reincarnation was viewed as something that was not only for humans, but also for animals. The soul would leave, travel to the happy hunting ground, have experiences with the ancient ancestors, and then have the experience of reincarnation. There are over 4,200 recorded religions in the world today, and every one of them have extensive writings on the mystery of death. We don't know for certain how long we have here. We cannot foresee the misfortunes that we will be dealt along the way. We don't know what Spirit has in store for us, but what we do know is we can live life purposefully, with joy, and with love. If Jim were here today, he would tell you he was not a religious man. He was a spiritual man. And is not religion all deeds? The afterlife is a personal belief, and it is proven that whatever you believe, it cannot be proven wrong. So I invite everyone in this room to put Jim in a place that feels good for you, for his memory, his soul energy, in a space that is acceptable to you. Nothing is wrong. It could be on a throne, sitting amongst his loved ones, or a moment's rest upon the wind, and another woman shall bear his soul. At this time, I would like to invite people to share their experiences with Jim, because I'm sure there are a lot of them in this room. Sheila has a video that she's going to show with our last great experience with Jim.
The video goes back to the time he was outside the retirement party. And you guys all know Jim's sitting around the fire, enjoying Jim's story. And the dog ran past me, and as she did, I tapped my glasses on her tail, so it looked like her tail was so nose that she was wearing sunglasses. And Jim was laughing so hard and slapping his knee. It was like a belly laugh. He was laughing so hard, I think he even snorted. All 2 years old, he would probably been saying, "Do it again, do it again, do it again." And it was so funny. And one of our other friends actually captured the dog with the
Okay, she's going to
show the video. It's hilarious.
Yes, I think Jim almost busted a gut on that one. He might have come out of his chair, in fact. So, please, I know there's a lot of memories in this room, and it would be great if we could all partake in them.
My name is Sandy. I was introduced to him when he moved into the Imperial Manor Apartments in 2012. Little did I know that he would be my closest friend one can have. It all began when my friend, who also was a tenant, we would occasionally be sitting in the lobby to pass the time by talking about the latest news or gossip. Then Jim started to join us, and there were the Three Musketeers, a fixture forever in the lobby. He would tell us jokes and talk about his childhood friends, upbringing in Sacramento, what his plans are for the day or weekend. And if he started a subject, he would be interrupted by yours truly and my friend. And I would discuss the subject. He would look at us as if to say, hey, I didn't finish what I was going to say, and rub his head. And you could just see him thinking, there they go again, but with a smile that showed he enjoyed hearing us disagree and or agreeing with each other. There was one time when the new Imperial Manor manager was moving in. Mind you, Jim didn't know her, nor did my friend and I. She stopped and talked to us for a while and said that her furniture didn't arrive yet and that she wanted to get an airbed, which she can always use it for another time if need be. Jim looked at her and said, what you're saying is that you sleep around. I looked at him and gave him a look. And he looked at me as if to say, what? And smiled. He sure enjoyed his remark. Jim would love to go on my balcony, rain or shine. And of course, we would have wine and snacks. He would love to see the motorcycle riders and wish he could have one again. Other things he noticed and would say, that kid shouldn't be riding his bike on the sidewalk. There's a bike lane, or that car is driving on the wrong side. I'm nervous. On the wrong side, or that dog owner should be carrying a bag for you know what. I would tell him, you know what, Jim, you missed your calling. You should have been the mayor of Sacramento or a police officer. And he said with a smile, and I would be a good one. He always wanted to tease me in public, and he would yell, hey, Mom, I'm over here, and say to whomever was listening to him, she needs help. I would give him the dirtiest look and told whoever he was speaking to, please don't laugh at his remarks. He loves the attention, and I'm not his mother. There was a poem I found, which I thought he would want me to read. It goes like this. A limb has fallen from the family tree. I keep hearing a voice that says, grieve not for me. Remember the best times, the laughter, the song, the good life I lived while I was strong. Continue my heritage, I'm counting on you. Keep smiling and surely the sun will shine through. My mind is at ease, my soul is at rest, remembering all how I truly was blessed. Continue traditions no matter how small. Go on with your life, don't worry about falls. I miss you all dearly, so keep up your chin until the day comes we're together again. I was asked, Sandy, what are we going to do now? And I thought about it. I'm going to appreciate the friendship, the joy, the consideration, the kindness Jim has given me. And I hope I gave him the same. Jim, you will always have a special place in my heart. I miss and love you, my friend. You are at peace now.
once? Going twice? Okay. All right. Okay. No, wait.
Hello, all. All of Jim's friends. And I am so fortunate to be considered one of his friends. He made that possible just by being the person he was. Jim was my neighbor, and he somewhat adopted me as I adopted him. I didn't have a lot of choice. I've been staying on my street for almost 25 years, and I can count on one hand the number of people I know, whose names I know. Jim knew everybody. He'd only been there maybe 2 or 3 years, and he knew everybody because he made it a point to become friends with whomever he saw. He would visit them, drop by. He was always a presence. He did so much for me. I would just be remiss if I didn't say something on his behalf. He was a person that I had come to love, and I didn't even know it. I know he got on my nerves. He always had a story, and you sit there and you go, And he would just go on and on and on. And I'm thinking, Lord, when will it end? But he was so good at it. He had such a giving heart. As a neighbor, I don't know, you would have thought maybe it was more than a neighbor, right? Because anything I needed, Jim said, okay, I'll be over. Okay, I'll handle it. Okay, don't worry about it. Whatever it was. The thing that stands out the most for me recently is when he went on his trip to visit his sons. And Jim had adopted his own habit of taking my garbage out. You know, he'd make sure, he said, don't worry about it, I got it. So on Monday mornings, he would always come over and take my garbage cans out. Now, I'm still able to do it. But if you don't do it, okay. And what really sticks with me as far as the kind of heart he has and the kind of person he was or is, I have never met anyone like Jim, never. When he went on his trip, again, his habit was to come over on Monday mornings and pull my garbage cans out. When he went on his trip, he had the person who was house sitting for him come and take my cans out. It was a woman. And I guess she was thinking like, what? But Jim said, oh yeah, make sure you take her cans out, every Monday morning. And she would do it. He was just amazing. Anything that I needed, you would have thought, again, that maybe I was his woman, okay? I wasn't. I was just a friend, and he was my friend. I will never, ever meet anyone I know like Jim. And like I said, I just couldn't sit there and not share with the world what kind of special person he was. I've never met anyone like him, and I will treasure his memory forever. Thank you.
do that again.
And if you someone you want to share and you don't care to come up here, you can stand and share from where you are, because I know there's some stories.
I'm Rick Wilson. I'm a long time friend of Jim's and the family, John, Joyce. I lived right down the street from Jim when I was about, I don't even remember. He has to be my oldest friend. We were, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 years old. I don't know, something like that. And Jim and John and I used to run around together. And we got into all the mischief that we could possibly get into, you know, that's just the way he was. Don't tell him. Well, believe me, there's a lot of stuff that Jim knows about me that I don't know what to tell everyone either. But he was, we just developed a really good friendship in Oak Park. And then after that, I moved to Southland Park. And we continued our friendship there. And he would, I got a car, I was 16 years old and I had a car, and he didn't have a car at the time, so we would go out and get in trouble together. And he always wanted to go out and beat someone up. Well, that didn't really work well for me because number one, I wasn't a tough guy. And number two, my mother was a police officer, and my dad was a fire chief, and I knew that any time that I ever did anything wrong, that it would be splashed all over the front page of the Sacramento Bee. So I had to have some restraint, so I would tell him, Jim, if you have to go do that kind of stuff, just go ahead and do it, but you're not going to do it with me. And that's kind of the way we went through our high school years. He went to Sac, I went to McClatchy, but we still maintained our friendship, and we went on double dates together. I was there when he got married to some of his wives. I knew a lot of his girlfriends, and of course his children. But he did move away to Wisconsin, and when he did that, we didn't part our friendship, but he was gone, and we really didn't have an opportunity to talk much. We did talk, but we didn't talk a lot. Later, he came back and came to Sacramento, and we reunited. And I tell you, it was some of the best times I ever had in the last couple of years. I would come into town, I would stay at Jim's house. I'd visit, especially with Linda, and we just had a good time sitting around and talking, you know. And Jim was one of those kind of guys who could just sit back and talk about it. And we had so much stuff in common that every time we would talk, new stuff would come out, you know. And then there'd be all the questions about what happened to this one and what happened to that one, and what about when we did this and that kind of thing. And it was just, he had a memory about stuff like that just, he was like a good storyteller, and he just was really good about that kind of stuff. And it was good for me, it was good for him. I think it was good for Linda, I'm not too sure. Linda always took care of me and fed me and you know, just took care of Jim. And I really, really enjoyed the friendship that we had and the friendship that he was having with Linda, because they really were having a good time together, and I feel badly that time has ended. But he's a lovable guy. I'm not sure how I feel about what happened, but I can find a happy place, I think, with Jim. You know, I really miss him a lot, as I'm sure all of you guys do. So anyway, I can tell you a lot more, but
Anyone else?
we've never, never had little rocks in his head and stuff, and he was just, every time I'd say, oh, my. So it went on from there, it would have its little wanderings, we would come back, and circle when you move back, that's when he really wanted to see me, and I wanted to see him, of course. And we had a wonderful time. A lot of good stuff happened. And we talked about how our lives have been, really pretty wonderful under the circumstances. He had a wonderful little way about it when he talked about it. He could make a story go so long. I'm telling you a story. Not that I have it. So I would just say a couple more things about it. And that was, he loved his family. With his old family. That's his people all the time. Some of these folks might even know who I am. I don't know. But he loved you folks up there. Okay? He loved everybody. He was really a pretty doggone nice guy in most ways. And I must tell you though, he gets so pissed off. And I won't go into any of that, but anyway, that's another story. I'll just tell you that he was a kind man, a good man, and you'll have to go sometime. Take his time, that's all. And it's gone. And we really enjoyed it. We really, really enjoyed it. It was fun. Had a great time together. Thank you.
Jan, as a teenager, he married one of his wives was my sister. He was one of my friends in my whole life. It's been a long time, like 40 plus years. And I hadn't seen him for a while. And of course, he hung out with other people that I heard from that he's around and what have you. But I was working on a job and he comes in, he's driving his hazmat truck. I was like, Jim! Those big old reunions, this is about 30 years ago. And then, when he came back to Sacramento, he was on Facebook and I friended him. Well, then we got in big trouble from the other friends. But nevertheless, we kept it quiet. We were friends. He's considering that I've lost, you guys have lost so much, that I've lost one of the dearest friends I've ever had. And he was so happy with me being there. I was so glad to see him like that. Because we decided we're never going to have another relationship. He was like, I'm not ever getting married. And I said the same thing, but now I'm married. So he really didn't stick to it. He was a wonderful man, and I'm going to miss him.
Well, hello, Mr. Lange. I moved in next door. At first I was scared. He's so big and rough, and when you guys moved away, it was really hard. And I remember one day getting knocked on the door, I don't know how many years later, I opened it, and there's Mr. Lange. And I'm like, Mr. Lange, and we talked with, you were with my relief club. I hadn't seen you in years, and he's like, Joanne, you can call me Jim now. I'm like, oh, no, I can't. But that big smile and big bear hug, and I ran into him a couple years ago. In fact, I think I posted that photo at Brookside Restaurant. Not having a good time at all. But truly just beautiful. I'm all talking about just a beautiful soul, beautiful human being. And we just know that he is wandering this universe, watching over us and telling stories, and those angels are like gems.
Go back, go back.
Anyway, thank you guys for sharing all your stories. It's wonderful. Love you guys.
Love you too.
Where do I begin? I went to Hiram Johnson. He was at Sacramento High. But the way I met him was I had a little after-school job. I worked in a dry cleaners where they needed the clothes. I mean, I didn't have to clean them or anything, but that was my job. And then this one this young man came up and he had his clothes with him. And so, he's kind of cute. So after he left, I ran back and I hung up some clothes I was holding and, oh, that's his mother's clothes. Maybe I could have, so we did start talking. I was kind of surprised, but he liked my legs. I thought, oh, well, glad I got something. So we did start dating, and his father, bless his heart, he's a character. He really didn't, he would drive by where I lived to make sure that his son was on his way home. That was, so, but Jim would get his little, what do you get when you're a kid? He gives you money for
Allowance.
Thank you. So, with his allowance, we, on a Friday night, we would pick up a bucket of chicken, and his brother, I think, buy the beer for us. We went with a bucket of chicken and a whole bunch of beer. So that was kind of fun. And then we got together more and more. And actually he proposed to me on the big theater, Alhambra Theater, which I'll never forget. He had a ring and everything. And I forget the name of the movie, some kind of movie I didn't want to watch anyway. Not that it was dirty thing, it was like, it was guns and all this. And I'm just looking and like, so we had Tanya. That was good. And then I think it was like 10 months, 11 months later, we had another one. Son, I'm talking to you. And then we had another surprise, which was the younger brother. So I was blessed with all of this. And even though it didn't work out for us, but listening to everybody that had been talking about Jim, they're all right. He was great, and I'm very lucky to have gone through and been with him. And I kept his name. I'm Sandy Lange. But thank all of you for coming here, and Tanya, you just did a wonderful job. I'm so proud of you. Love you all. I haven't seen you in a long time. Well, I was telling you, I'm very forgetful.
I know you are.
She's already told me. Do we have any more?
They're all strangers. Well, many years ago, I worked for the Sacramento Union, News Publishing Company, and 4 of us guys had a shop out on Folsom Boulevard. We called it Compro. Jim was a runner for us. He run copy for us, painting hardware, and Oakland, and all that kind of stuff. That's where, and I'd met Jim a couple of years before. Jim was always what everybody is saying. We live in Grass Valley. Well, after Jim come back and was over in Sparks and working for Hazmat and that, well, we got back together once in a while. There was a couple that lived down south of town, Sacramento here, Gary and Alice Jensen. Well, don't kid yourself. They adopted Jim. Jim adopted them. Once in a while, we'll have something like an ice cream social at home. Sometimes there's a pretty good crowd. Jim always brought the Jensen back. We always enjoyed the visits. And at times, I'd call Jim if we were down here and we'd go and have lunch or meet a couple of times at the Pocket Club down off of 34 Boulevard. And we had an always enjoyable time. The last time I talked to him, he says, "Bob, do you need any help?" Hey, when some old fart like me's around, he always needs some help. But I told him, "No, Jim, we're doing fine." Bob, never hesitate. Call me. He was a good man.
Anyone else? Well, Jim was a good man, it's obvious. He was a very good man, I enjoyed him. And what I'm gonna remember about him is that Fu Manchu little ponytail he was working on in the end. I'll never forget anything like that. Every time I saw him, I had to check the development. It started off like this big with a little rubber band, and I think the last time I saw him at your retirement party, it was like maybe this long. Yeah, it's like, really? You are super hip. You are a super hip guy, Jim. I'd like to close this. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your memories of Jim. It was very heartfelt, and I love the laughter because that's who he was to me. Is see his face, and he was a very, very joyous man. I'd like to close with a poem from a book, The Prophet, written by Kahil Gibran, a Lebanese philosopher from the late 1800s. And I am going to read this. Okay. You would know the secret of death, but how shall you find it unless you seek it in the heart of life? The owl whose night-bound eyes are blind unto the day cannot see the mystery of light. If you would indeed behold the spirit of death, open your heart wide to the body of life. For life and death are one, as the river and the sea are one. In the depths of your hopes and desires lies your silent knowledge of the beyond. And like a seed dreaming beneath the snow, your heart dreams of the spring. Trust the dreams, for in them is the hidden gate to eternity. Your fear of death, is it not the trembling of the shepherd who stands before the king, who is to lay his hand upon him in honor? Is the shepherd not joyful beneath his trembling, that he shall wear the mark of the king? Yet is he not more mindful of the trembling? For what is it to die but to stand naked in the wind and to melt into the sun? And what is it to cease to breathe, but to free the breath from the restless ties that it may rise and expand and seek God unencumbered? Only when you drink from the river of silence shall you indeed sing. And when you have reached the mountaintop, it is then that you begin to climb. And when the earth shall claim your limbs, then you shall truly dance. Jim, we release you into the universe and know that you are exactly where you need to be. And so it is. Thank you. Did you want to say a closing something like? We never talk about that.
Yeah, no. Again, I truly so thankful for every one of you, and I know you're very much part of Dad's lives. So thankful that you guys are here and celebrating his life. But thank you.
How long are you here? You have to take tomorrow. Yeah, back to work and gotta get back to life. Gotta get back to life. Is that yours?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the phone died. I was videoing.